Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Mount Pleasant Plan Commission for May 18th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Bhatia,
Here.
Meyer,
Here.
Driver,
Here?
Hewitt,
Here.
Rissler,
Here.
Van Beckham,
Here.
and Bosanowski is excused.
And welcome to Frank, our new commission member here.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the approval of the April 20th, 2022 meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the April 2022 meeting minutes.
Second.
Any comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Should record me as abstaining because I was not here at the time.
Very good. We will do that.
You weren't even legal then.
That's
All
correct.
right. All right, no new business, or old business, new business. South Emerson Road Certified Survey Map Application CSM 0422.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, the applicant proposed splitting the existing .729 acre parcel into 4 lots. One that's just under 9,000 square feet and the remainder just about 7,600 square feet. The applicant wishes to construct low-density residential development similar to their adjacent Christina Estates North addition, which is currently under construction for that subdivision. This complies with the land use element of the comp plan. We do not have an adopted plan for local planning area 11. Meets the CSM and design standards requirements of the subdivision code as well as the required improvements. It also meets the RL1 lot size standards. In terms of a fiscal note, the lands contained with the CSM do not lie within any tax increment districts. The applicant indicated they expect the assessable value of the homes for the application to reach $350,000, which is greater than the median village assessable value of $312,000. The median home value for the village generates approximately $2,000 per year in taxes for the village. Additionally, a new single-family home generates about $3,100 in impact fees. Total estimated value for the development per acre is about $1.1 million, which is greater than the village target of $1 million an acre. Cost projections for the adjacent road repaving estimate the project needs to contribute about 7% of its taxes over 20 years to the cost of repaving. This amount is greater than the 9% the village on average contributes to its annual paving program, indicating the properties adequately pay for their long-term public infrastructure fiscal obligations. Below you'll see in the packet the table for those financial estimations. This should be said as well that this is turning a single lot into 4 lots. There are additional lots to the north of the CSM, so this is also helping to balance those future obligations. Thanks, Robin. Those future obligations across both sides of the public street instead of just on one side. So the neighbors should be happy about this as well. In terms of conditions, the staff don't recommend any, and we recommend you move to approve the CSM. So pretty simple. Corner Emerson Road. The developer is doing the adjacent subdivision. They agreed to purchase this property, so they're just kind of folding it into that subdivision. Any questions for me? The applicant was going to be here, but they got caught up, so they gave me a call, expressed their regrets they can't be here, but ultimately we didn't have any staff recommended conditions and thought this one was pretty black and white, so didn't figure it was a big deal.
What about access from Lot 1 directly onto Emerson Road?
It's likely, as of now, that home pulls access off of Emerson Road. So we would certainly recommend, if they plan to tear down and rebuild the home, that they would pull access off of Fox Run Lane, just based on how the lot is situated. But ultimately, they could, if Public Works decided to continue that access off of Emerson Road, as long as it was outside the visibility triangle at the intersection. They also, by right, could put in a duplex and do, 2 separate driveways and kind of a corner duplex as well. So Public Works will have to approve the access when they come in. My anticipation is they'll probably pull one off of Fox Run just to have a front yard and a backyard, as opposed to a really wide front yard and a very shallow backyard.
Yeah, I had one of those once. It's annoying.
It certainly causes issues in terms of, if you want a shed in the back and stuff like that, your setbacks get to be a little wonky. And our code treats a front yard and then a secondary side yard separately. So we would certainly, we can't force someone if they meet the setbacks to pull it off a Fox Run, but we'd certainly recommend that. And I think probably the developer is going to do that.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Any public comment on this? All right, then I'd be looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to recommend approval of the South Emerson Road Certified Survey Map Application CSM 04-22 to the Village Board, subject to the recommended conditions, which there are none.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further comments? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next will be the Pike River Crossing Preliminary Subdivision Plat Application, PSP 0122.
All right, I'm gonna probably be up here for a little while. Might as well get comfy, and get a nice chair or
I
something.
was just gonna say, do you want a chair?
No, I'm good. All right, so this is the Pike River Crossing Subdivision Plat Application, PSP 0122, with subdivider Bear Development. Comprehensive plan denotes mixed residential commercial, local planning area 17, and the zone is currently AG2, but there is a rezone that will be next on the agenda. Bear Development LLC is applied to plat a mixed-use neighborhood with 198 single-family lots, 1 condominium lot with 20 duplex units, 1 multifamily lot, 2 mixed-use lots, and a general business lot. A concurrent application, ZMA 0422, is being considered to amend the zoning map for 64.68 acres over 2 parcels, from AG2 to RM2, MX2, and B3. The properties are located within TID 6. So your review here, we do have a new subdivision chapter. So we were very thorough and kind of going through all the different applications of the chapter and kind of reviewing them bit by bit, everything that was applicable to the subdivision plat. So most of the things are, the point 1, the area of jurisdiction, it's in with Racine. It is applicable. It complies with the sections in the compliance section. The land is suitable for subdivision. And under the dedication, reservation, and protected land, they have dedicated public streets to serve the proposed subdivision. The application does not contain any proposed public parks or schools. There are open spaces marked on the map as outlots, as well as a public bike trail along the Pike River corridor. The subdivider shall note all publicly accessible areas not contained within public rights-of-way or public access easements. If you kind of look at the site plan that's on your map, it is zoomed out, but there is a sort of a green space within the center of the development that is basically the yards or whatever. Those are going to be condominiums of duplexes. Those particular lots didn't actually have a direct frontage, so they needed to be condo platted in order to do that. So on every other kind of plan, they've had that as a green, like colored in green, so you knew that there was going to be grass there, but just kind of noting what that was. Also, another consideration as far as this is that the Pike River corridor is right here on the west side of the property. In kind of working with the developer, they agreed to develop one side of the road on the west side of the property and then place a bike trail on the west side of that single fronted road. So basically all of the properties along that road will be looking out into the Pike River corridor. So that's actually going to be a very nice natural amenity for those properties. The subdivider did provide homeowner association documents for review, so we'll get to that later. They meet the improvement section. They will have to basically enter in a development agreement with the village. This application is contingent on and based on an ask from the village with TID 6. So that is going to be something that is ongoing with this, and just kind of keep that in mind. The subdivider did request a slightly narrow non-access easement and planting area along South Green Bay Road than the 50 feet required by Chapter 74. The village staff believe 40 to 43 feet shown does not harm the adjacent lots nor conflict with the spirit of that subsection. So then we go to the land division procedures, just basically saying how we kind of did this. The subdivider has met with staff multiple times over the course of the past year to get this ironed out and get it ready to present here. They've gone through multiple different plan proposals, multiple different staff, and well, I mean, we've been here the entire time. They you know, with them. And kind of to get this where it is. And each time, you know, the staff has given them, you know, feedback to get it to a really good place. And a lot of times they were kind of a little incredulous of like, really, you want us to do what now? You know, as far as like showing that Mount Pleasant was really about, you know, growth and in different kinds of development than we had seen in the past. So that's been a positive interaction all around. So that this application needs to be submitted to the Wisconsin Department of Administration. That's condition 4. And then this is also subject to review by you and the village board. After that, then we will kind of iron out the conditions, and it'll come back after all of those for a final plat for approval by both you and the village board as well. Okay, so the going into the general conditions of the preliminary plat, the one thing that the staff had noticed that is missing is that there needs to be a tabling of existing vegetation, including the boundaries and characteristics of woodlands. That does exist, however, any kind of what does it say? Specimen trees, sort of large mature trees need to be denoted on the landscape and site plans to say that they have large trees here, and you know, hopefully they can preserve them because those large trees count double in their landscape plan allotments. Other things, they submitted street plans and profiles. Those are subject to approval by the Public Works. Soil boring and tests were not recommended. Following approval of the preliminary plat, they will submit the stormwater plans to the village engineer. And then now we're at 74.4.7, covenants and homeowners and condominium association documents. This subdivider shall revise the proposed documents and homeowners association documents as directed by the village staff and village attorney. These revisions shall include, but not be limited to, consolidating all documents for the entire proposed site under a single association, removing any conflict with village ordinance from the documents, and including all the necessary sections identified in 74.2.6. That's condition 8. Basically, we felt that the homeowners association document was pretty much a standard document that was, you know, been used for other developments, and there were lots of kind of boilerplate clauses that directly conflict with village ordinances. Now, sometimes those are kind of intended, so if you wanted a stricter architectural standard, something like that, that's fine. Those are kind of the reasons why HOAs exist. But we're talking about strict conflicts with allowed buildings and allowed lot sizes and stuff like that that are on the site that we said that those can't directly conflict, because that creates problems in the long run when you have different sets of rules. So with the design standards, the application meets these requirements, as well as the street arrangements. It meets that as well. For the limited access highway and railroad right-of-way treatments, they shall revise the plat to denote a non-access easement and plating area adjacent to State Highway 31. Oh, planting area, I think. Okay. For 7.4, the application generally meets the street, bicycle, and pedestrian standards. The subdivider commissioned a TIA on the plat. All final appointments shall follow the recommendation with the TIA or subject to approval by the Public Works Director, Racine County Public Works, and the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. The street intersections blocks are both meet the requirements of the division. Okay. So the next one is about lots. So one of the things about here, and this is a condition, is that 21 lots in the subdivision have lot sizes greater than the maximum lot size requirement for a single-family home of 7,200 square feet. So that's under Chapter 90 in zoning. Well, we've given them 3 options to remedy that situation. 1, those lots can be used to accommodate a duplex. 2, those lots can be adjusted via, just basically lot arrangement, moving them, shaping them, whatever. And then 3, they can apply for administrative relief from staff up to 15%. That would cure 16 out of the 21 lots. But staff does not want to do that until all other options have been exhausted, and sort of a hardship when geometry exists. Okay, keep on going here. Man, we got a long way to go. It's only page 4. So building setback lines, it meets those requirements. Utility and drainage easements are subject to the Public Works Director, and the Parks and Open Space Plan does not identify any natural drainage. All of that other stuff is A-okay. So as of now, do you guys have any questions on the content that I've covered so far?
The only thing I question is up on the TIA, if it says they shall follow the recommendations within the TIA. What if that is against what we have in our ordinances?
Usually with the TIA, the TIA is going to largely concern the intersection with State Trunk Highway 31, and they overrule us. So if they say, this has to be that or this, then what they say goes within a certain amount of feet from the intersection from State Trunk Highway 31. Everything else, there is an intersection with County Highway Road KR, but that is not the primary entrance to the development.
Okay. Go ahead, Tom.
With respect to installing streets and things, 74.2.7 on page 2, the way this reads, before approval of any final plat, the streets, et cetera, shall be installed. Is that the customary? Streets are installed before the final plat's approved? I would think the final plat would.
State law gives them the option to do that. So state law gives you essentially 2 options, as does this ordinance. A, you can get a preliminary plat approved, go install the public streets, and then get a final plat approved, essentially to divide off the lots. Basically, no one does that, but this section contemplates their ability to do that. Or it requires that development agreement with the village to install the required improvements, which is the way that people have done subdivisions probably for the last 30 years. So
as I understand it, then the general practice is to get the final plat approved before the streets are done.
yep, with a development agreement.
The developer can take the risk of putting the streets in before final plat approval if he
Yeah,
chooses.
if they really want to.
They got that cash hiding under the couch or something.
That would be pretty wild, but yeah, no, we fully expect them to go development agreement. That's just the way the ordinance is written because it contemplates both options. So
Okay. I have another question with respect to this right-of-way treatments in planting areas. There's language about the design of the planting area shall be similar or compatible with the character of adjacent properties. That seems pretty vague. I mean, I don't know what the adjacent properties provide or don't provide.
they basically provide nothing because this one is way out on its own. So they'll be able to set those standards themselves.
It's just country.
Yeah.
It's farm field. Yeah.
So at this point, it's going to be just subject to negotiation or working with you fellows?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll have some general landscape requirements from site plans for the non-platted, or they'll have to do site plans for some of these lots later on down the line. And those will have landscape requirements, and those can be placed in that section, as well as sidewalks or trails or anything like that. But that's all that can be placed in there.
Where does this language about the reference to character of adjacent properties, is that just part of the
Part of the
existing
ordinance.
ordinance?
Yeah.
And then I guess this is not specific to this subdivision, but when we talk about areas pedestrian, bicycle, and other recreational uses are allowed, but not motor vehicle, it seems to me, is motor vehicle a defined term somewhere?
Yes, very, very clearly. And that's through WisDOT. It's basically, I think, everything under e-bike class 3 would be not a motor vehicle. So anything that you would have to get licensed, that you put a license, you require a Wisconsin driver's license to use, and that you need to put a plate on the back. It would be classified as a motor vehicle.
So electronic battery-powered bicycles and scooters are allowed?
Okay.
Okay.
Now, there is some distinction between class 3 and class 2 bikes and scooters, and class 3 can go up to 28 miles an hour, and class 2 only goes up to 20.
Just a more substantive comment on my part. I just was a little surprised to see that no parks were made part of this subdivision. It's a pretty extensive subdivision. There'll be a lot of families, a lot of kids in this subdivision with 0 parks or playgrounds called out for by this preliminary plat. And it's great that there's access to the bike trail along the west edge, good, but that in and of itself doesn't do anything for a 5-year-old or 8-year-old toddler within the subdivision.
Sure.
So to not have parks of any kind, even a pocket park, I think is poor design. I mean, I just find that less than satisfying. I wish the
So-
subdivision had that.
So as far as the basically subdivision plating procedures, we can only accept a dedication of a public park if it's on our Parks and Open Space plan, and there's no designated park here. There is Big Ramkey to the immediate west of the Pike River here. And that's a very large park. We haven't really built it out yet, but it is a large park that is kind of consistently that we have on our long-range plan. Also, you have all the natural area of the Pike River here that is going to be open and as well as used. As for like any sort of like small green spaces or playgrounds or whatnot, those will be, a part of individual site plans and don't need to necessarily be dedicated on the subdivision plat. So I would assume something along those lines would go in the green space in the central area of the subdivision, as well as some of the smaller outlots throughout the development. But that can be up to, the developer can also answer to those questions as well.
But in this particular case, as things now stand, this developer seems to be choosing the option of paying a park fee rather than developing parks or dedicated
There is
parks.
no option there, that they have to pay the park fee unless we have a park designated in our Park and Open Space plan, in which case they can dedicate that land in lieu of paying the park fees.
Okay.
Carry on.
All right. Okay, so required improvements, all of these sections basically meet those requirements. We can just kind of go through all that, or are subject to be approval between the preliminary and final plats. As well as stuff like street lamps, those need to be placed on every intersection. The street and traffic control signs and signals, they should install or pay for the fabrication or installing of a street name sign of a design specified by the Public Works Director. And they should pay for any fabrication installation of any traffic control signs or signals identified during the review, also from the TIA as well. And street trees, that's pretty explainable. They have to meet the street tree condition in the ordinance. Erosion and sediment control, they're good. Landscaping, they should install landscaping in accordance with landscaping plans and specifications, subject to Chapter 90 and approval by the Plan Commission. Each individual lot, like the mixed-use lots, as well as the business lot, and then the multifamily lot on the north side, those will come back to the Plan Commission for review. Each one of those would have their separate landscape plans and requirements. And lastly, the fees are good. So, into doing the Chapter 90 zoning, I actually covered that earlier, about the lot sizes and the 7,200 square feet, maximum in RM2. Now, you might think that it is small. That is, RM2 is meant to be a sort of a denser district, a moderate density. And then there are multifamily units in here, and as well as 1 and 2 family units. So this allows the flexibility to have 1 and 2 family lots within something that could normally just only have multifamily. So it actually a more versatile neighborhood that has lots of different types of houses in there. But with that being said, if some like a 1 acre single family lot was plopped in the middle of it, it would just look completely out of place. Okay, so fiscal note, the parcels are within newly created TID 6. The subdivided indicated a potential request for assistance from the TID, to which Community Development Authority and the village board review the pro forma and approve that development agreement. The village staff just basically, with the combination of all of the different factors going on, we took a really rough estimate and just assumed an eventual assessment value of $300,000 per unit. That would be on the low side for a single family home. That would be on the slightly high side for a multifamily unit. So we figured it probably averaged out and would be on the conservative side. This also does not include the commercial portions of the mixed use buildings or the B3 parcel. The proposed development has a project value per acre of 1.3 million, and that's greater than the village's target of 1 million an acre. The 9,655 feet of urban local roadway plus 1,600 feet of collector street creates an estimated fiscal obligation of $1.3 million for future repavement. On a 15-year repaving schedule, that development would pay 15% of its estimated tax revenue towards repaving. Using a 20-year repaving schedule, that would do 11%. So that is slightly above what the normal is for the village tax rates towards the paving program right now. But there are several factors that are kind of outstanding here. There is not the business aspect of this included. You can see all of the sort of statistics there. And I'm coming into the home stretch. All right, so additional staff considerations. We view this development as an opportunity for a particularly pedestrian-friendly subdivision due to its compact nature, neighborhood mixed use, adjacent parkland, adjacent commercial opportunities. Therefore, village staff requests additional pedestrian walkability improvements such as curb bump outs or raised crosswalks throughout the development. Such improvements were present in the original concept renderings but not shown on the application materials. The applicant could also incorporate stormwater retention features such as rain gardens or bioswales within those improvements. That's condition 16.
Now you said there, Robin, that it says they should, but doesn't, or request, but doesn't say shall.
Yeah, that's correct.
No.
I don't think that it's not mandated in ordinance that they construct these. So we can't force them to do it if they didn't want to, but we are basically requesting that they do so.
And
Correct,
if the-
Sam?
Correct. You know, that's kind of something that we wanted to highlight now as they go through preliminary plat and it gets fed into final plat design as we start to talk about development agreement stuff. So the conditions you see on here are basically directly related to the preliminary plat, things they need to choose before we'll kind of approve that preliminary plat. That additional staff consideration item was more something we wanted to feed into that development agreement discussion and the final plat design. Some of those are just, you know, road cross sections and things like that. So that's why we called it out in that specific way.
Okay, and for those curb cuts or bump outs, do we have design standards for those?
Not generally from a municipal level, but they're pretty common, so their engineers will be able to take those and apply them where they're appropriate. They exist in the village already, so it's not like something
Right.
that'd be brand new.
Okay.
And lastly, I mentioned this before, but the subdivider shall submit a condominium plat application and site plan application for the areas identified as outlots 1, 3, 4, 5, and 8 before the village allows construction of any for sale condominium units, rental residential units, commercial buildings, or mixed-use buildings as zoning allows, and that's condition 17. So that is all of the different conditions. All of those are in very, very tiny print on this page. Now, it seems like a lot, but a lot of those are kind of standard practice review between the preliminary plat and the final plat. Also, we were overly thorough because this is the first one to go through the new subdivision plat procedures. Any questions? We do have the applicant here and they will be presenting after me.
Any other go ahead, Tom.
Your write-up talks about the landscaping, street trees, the planting area, et cetera, will come back to us for another look-see. Can you tell me when and how that comes back to us?
Okay. So the first way is through any of the site plan reviews. So the several different site plans that are a part of this will be reviewed separately at landscape planning. Also, the final plat comes back to you for review and a check before the final plat gets approved. So obviously landscape designs and all that sort of stuff will be further advanced by that time.
Okay, just not a question, but just a recommendation. I think under the recommendation, when you're asking us to recommend approval, somewhere in there I would say preliminary plat. Because obviously it's a preliminary plat, but I would just put that in your verbiage there because that's going to be incorporated into the actual, resolution or action.
Certainly, please add the word preliminary to the motion.
Okay, we could just put that after subdivision preliminary plat application. Okay.
100%. Thank you for catching that.
Any other questions of Robin? Yes, go ahead.
Robin, in the plan, in addition to the multifamily duplex and the single family, there's a general business. What kind of business is the developer anticipating right next to the residential?
So that is kind of up in the air right now. The prospects that have been floated around is potentially trying to lure Quick Trip to the site, to which staff has raised concern about the size and like lights and all that sort of stuff that a Quick Trip would bring. It certainly would be a valuable use of the site and popular, but ultimately, that site is located on a state highway. B3 is an appropriate zoning classification for a commercial site on a state highway. We've commented to the developer, and the developer is very aware that we would like to have cohesion and connections between the neighborhood and whatever lands there. So that would be certainly a very intense focus of the site planning process for that B3 parcel. They are very aware that we don't want something that's basically walled off, blocked off, cars only for that particular site.
Also, if you look at it, Trustee Bhatia, that corner lot there is kind of bisected north to south
Yeah.
by transmission lines. And so, there will be opportunities for kind of a business use on the east side of that lot towards the highway, and then the west side of the lot that's closer to the residential as well. So we'll certainly take that into consideration, whether it's one big user that wants to deal with that transmission issue or, two separate users. We'll take that into the site planning. We've made that clear to the applicant. So
I will say that we have to basically claw and fight for all of the commercial space that is given, because commercial space is such a tough market right now. And so, the residential space is easy for developers right now, but commercial, and especially kind of strip commercial or retail or anything like that is very hard to do. So in order to keep the TID balance so at somewhat fair levels, as far as we can only dedicate 35% of the land to residential, we need to have some commercial elements in the plan. That's why there's the business lot as well as the mixed use lots that are within the development itself.
And just a quick question in regards to that, because I know we're dealing with a preliminary plat right now on this one, but we also now are going to be doing the general business B3, and we talk about Quick Trip or whoever it is, there's going to be a by right once we make that decision. So we need to be careful of that up front to say that, you know, we can do all we want, but they say, hey, Quick Trip wants it, we may have to let them do it if we're going to make that B3 designation, correct?
In general, yes. I think the one added wrinkle that you guys don't typically deal with is there is an impending ask for assistance for the entire site. Obviously, there's a lot of public streets, a big roundabout, Oaks Road, that kind of thing. So from a request for assistance, we think it kind of passes the preliminary smell test. They'll need to go through that whole process to submit a pro forma if they do move forward with a request for assistance. But that ultimately means a development agreement with the developer. So, you know, ultimately we have probably a little bit more push-pull negotiation strategy than just base level zoning on this one, because they're asking us for money, or they could ask us for money. So, you know, that helps. We can throw our weight around municipally a little bit more. Ultimately, you know, I'll let the developer speak for themselves, but I don't think, you know, they're going to be trying to sell the subdivision, so I don't think they're going to want to plop a Quick Trip and just like blow out all the adjacent neighbors with lights when they're trying to sell those homes at the same time too. So those are a couple things that mitigated our concern. We went back and forth between that B2 and B3 and what was an appropriate zoning designation for that corner, but you know, ultimately it's a corner on a state highway, so we thought any issues with light or traffic or things we try to address through the site planning effort and not just the use restriction itself.
Yeah, because this is going to be adjacent to what, the Seasons, right? I mean.
There's a
the
one
new-
parcel in between.
But it's going to be a multifamily unit though, right? Isn't it adjacent to the property that we talked about last month?
No, there's
still another-
there's one field in between.
There's another field between yet?
Yeah.
Think of it, it's three parts of this whole stretch. The top third is the Seasons development. The middle third is the Roner property. And then the bottom third is this property. So the middle property is owned by the Roners with no intent on developing anytime soon.
Okay.
So now we're also trying to not saddle them with a lot of the commercial development, but that will have a bit more commercial mix than the other lots would.
Okay.
And we think that kind of mix makes sense from a wider land use perspective for the TID. Obviously, the Roner property to the north will have, you know, kind of very clear frontage on the north side of Oaks Road, and as that kind of bends to the northeast, they have the longest stretch along a collector street. So when we are looking at the planning for the TID, originally we thought, you know, if any of these thirds make sense for more intensive commercial, it's probably that center one that has the best access, and you know, you're not plopping it right on KR where they don't have as good of access, or it'd be a little bit more of a struggle to sell that land to commercial. So that was our long-term thinking for it. We're still pretty comfortable with that after seeing this plat.
Additionally, the big difference between B2 and B3 when it comes to a user like that is that a B2 gas stations and fuel stations have a conditional use that basically limits them to 8 pumps on the property. Obviously, Quick Trip usually goes above that just by a smidge. So that would kind of almost rule them out from the start. So that is where we're at on that one.
All right, any other comments, questions for staff? If not, I'd like to invite the applicant up. Oh, just one moment, we do have a question. Chief?
Ed Lockhart, South Shore Fire, 658 Hunter Drive. Just quick question for staff on the Oaks Road tie-in. Is that gonna connect to the current Oaks Road? And is it
Nope.
anywhere in vicinity to the current multifamily apartment development
It's
on Yates?
Still a field in between them, Ed. So eventually Oaks Road will connect through as those properties develop, and Yates will connect through as there's kind of a property in the middle there as that develops, but not as part of this plat. So
Yeah, so you see at the top of this map right here, if you see the roundabout going north, that's Yates Road. That travels basically the length of the Roner property, probably about, is that 2,000 feet? So, I mean,
1,500, something like
50,
that.
yeah, somewhere around there, till it reaches the bottom of the Seasons development, the same Yates Road. Oaks Road here will go off towards, basically kind of hugging the usable part right next to the Pike River corridor, and then basically line up where Oaks Road dead ends right now by the Walmart and the Menards. That would eventually need to come down straight, and that would connect with this. This is probably Oaks Road and Airline Road, that basically being a continuous north-south road throughout the Mount Pleasant is probably our number one biggest and hugest goal as far as additional street connections go, and this is one of the starts of it, so that's pretty good. It's been identified on sewer pack plans for over 20 years for it to be completed. So,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, any other questions now? With the applicant, if we can give us your name and address and. Yes, please.
Yes. Here's your little wand. Go ahead. He's gonna switch that over.
Great. SR Mills, 4011 80th Street, Kenosha. Appreciate all the time and effort, and I like the afternoon plan commission meetings too. So, and I'd like to thank Robin and Sam. As they mentioned, it was we've done a lot of work with this. I've had a lot of iterations, but I think we've landed in a pretty good spot. No doubt we'll have additional tweaks as we continue to move it forward, but feel good about where we're at. Overall, this is a unique development from the standpoint of we do have a lot of density on here, and the mixed uses from our multifamily, townhomes, single family, a couple different types of single family, as well as the commercial. Just to answer the commercial topic that we were just discussing, we certainly we won't do anything that is negative for the balance of the subdivision. And we have looked at that site where we really have, we're east of the towers, and then we have a component west of the towers. So we were pretty thoughtful in how we would subdivide that. We've got roughly a 6-acre commercial area, of which we're just probably 3.5 acres usable east of the towers and 2 usable to the west. So making sure that we're, if there is a more intense type of use, like a Quick Trip or some other service station, C-store, that we buffer that appropriately. And then also, Quick Trip has been doing a pretty good job of late. They actually redid one just by our office where increasing the pedestrian-friendly flow, having some outside areas. So we want to make sure it's anything that we do there, it's iterative to the overall neighborhood, and it's accessible, and it can flow pretty well. So I'll walk you through some of the reasons that we're excited about the development. We think it, again, it's unique to Racine County, Kenosha County, really southeastern Wisconsin. We haven't seen a lot of product like this. It is more of a traditional neighborhood. Our goals were to ensure we have a cohesive neighborhood with different types of product, to ensure that we have that density, so we hit the minimum thresholds on the valuations, but also that it's affordable. One of the problems we're having right now in the building side of things is, if we do your traditional 20,000 square foot lot, the cost to do that kind of blow us out of the water. We have to push those prices up so high, it's hard for us to keep those levels at what we think are reasonable spots. Certainly construction costs overall are through the moon right now, so we're trying to do everything we can to create really great livable neighborhoods, but at the same point deliver a product that people can afford and that's high quality and enjoyable. All right, so the first slide here is the just basics of the overall development. You see identified in the northeast, the commercial component. We have the 2 multifamily areas that will be back in front of you once we further design those. As far as the steps in the process for us, we've first wanted to get to this stage to make sure we were on the right track, and then we'll design product that fits within each of those multifamily nodes. And then the comment about the green space, and that's something we're very sensitive to as well. As you see in the center area, we have what will be townhomes fronting up to that park area. We've seen some successful examples in Madison and other marketplaces that we try and take all the good things that we can, where we have that top lot and green area and a bit of a not a plaza, but a center point of the development is that green space in the center. We're looking at probably 1.5 acres to 2 acres when it's all said and done. And as mentioned, there'll be some further shifts. I think we're going to likely lose a townhome or two to make sure we can have pathways and the pedestrian flow through the development. Yes, sir.
Quick question, there's an awful lot of green on this picture, so when you say green space, I'm not quite sure what green space you're referring to is for the park area.
I don't know
Would
if I have
that be the, sort of the area ringed by the multifamily, or is it that more of a football field shape that's,
not the football field shape. So if you're coming in at the center point, I wish I could point to this, guys, I apologize. If you're coming in off of Green Bay Road, not through the cul-de-sac, but the other access point, that essentially dead ends into that. It's like a triangle
Okay.
there.
all right, so that's the one that's sort of surrounded by those multifamily buildings?
That's correct.
All right, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and please feel free to, any questions along the way, just shoot. Again, on the western side, this is, staff's thought, and we think it's a good one, is, we need to keep that connectivity to the trail and to be able to then access the lands to the west. We've got a great park system, great open space over there, so we want to make sure we've got a safe way for families and kids to be able to get to that side and to have it flow. So we do have that trail on the the western side of the parcel up against Pike Creek. So this is a tentative phasing plan for now. One thing I'm confident on is it's going to change as we go through. We're dissecting all of the costs as we speak to figure out exactly what makes the most sense. We'll make sure any phasing plan that we do, we're in concert with staff, with the fire department, to ensure we don't have corridors that don't connect, and we need to be very thoughtful on life safety items. And we also want to roll it out where we have a variety of product. So one of the things that, reasons that we like this development so much is because we have rear-loaded single-family, traditional single-family, townhomes. So we want to try and roll all of that out in the beginning so we can tweak and make adjustments and have a variety of product for consumers. Here's just a couple of examples. This is actually, the picture to the right is down in Kenosha. These are 6,500 square foot lots, so they're smaller lots like we're discussing here, and some of the traditional homes that we would expect to be on the front-loaded single-family product. Here's what we would call a rear-loaded. So this is more of your traditional neighborhood design where you access from a vehicular standpoint, you access off of an alley in the back. And then, so we're not looking at a sea of garages, we're looking at front doors, bigger front lawns in this instance. So you'll see that the rear-loaded single-family lots are actually longer, quite a bit longer than your traditional front-loaded single-family lot. So we have a lot of faith that a product like this will be well-received. It'll look great, and we'll be able to deliver it at a price point, maybe $350 to $425, which in today's day and age is pretty affordable. And these are just some shots of traditional houses that we've built over the last year or two, some of the features and the amenities. Again, we envision not having the McMansion 3,200 square foot homes, but having really well-designed, great features on both the interior and the exterior, but at a 1,500 to 2,100 square foot house. This is an example of the townhomes, the duplex townhomes that we think will work well in using those throughout the site. Same here, it's a rear-loaded product, so we're not staring at garage doors. It's really hard if you're doing a traditional, whether it's a ranch-style duplex or traditional townhomes, to hide those front doors and those garage doors, and so we want to make sure it's just not a sea of garage doors here. So hence the alleyways separating them off the back. And goal would be 320 to 400 a side. We think that's achievable. Some additional shots of multifamily units that we've created and some of the fit and finish on the interior. And that is the extent of it. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have and any thoughts. Yes, sir.
Do you see yourself building very many ranch homes? It looks like the narrowness, relatively speaking, of the lots sort of suggests you're going to be doing mostly 2 stories.
I think it'll likely be 2/3 2 stories. And you're spot on that if we were to do a ranch, those ranches will be 1,400 to 1,600 square feet, so they will be smaller. I think we'll certainly have some ranches, but I do think that the majority of the product will be 2-story.
Has Bear done something similar to this at this?
From a master plan community standpoint? Yes, many. We've actually in Union Grove right now, we're developing 164 acres where we have townhomes, duplex townhomes that are under construction, ranch-style duplexes. We have a 60-unit multifamily building, and our first phase is 62 single-family lots that's under construction right now. We've probably done 8 to 10 in recent times, done in Pleasant Prairie. We have a 48-lot subdivision with 140 units of multifamily that's finished, where we're still building out the single family. So we can get you our bio sheet with a lot of the product that we've done.
Any other questions? Concerns? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Chief?
Ed Lockhart, South Shore Fire again. Just a quick question on the condos and the green space in the center. Sure. That 20-foot lane or roadway, is this gonna be public or private hydrants, do you know? And will there be hydrants on that lane? Because access from the connector street to the, what would be the southeast, that's probably 150, 200 feet, which wouldn't be very favorable in winter months with snow and ice to stretch fire hose across that.
Yeah, we'll, I agree with you on that. I think, we certainly will need hydrants, and so that's something that we'll work with you on to make sure that it meets all the life safety criteria that you're looking for.
Thank you.
Certainly.
All right, if there's no further questions or comments, we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we recommend approval of the Pike River Crossing Subdivision Plat Application PSP 0122 to the Village Board, subject to the conditions and for approval.
I'll second it, but I'd like to add the word preliminary in there in regards to the crossing subdivision preliminary plat application.
Good with the motion? Okay. It's good.
Okay.
Done. All right, any questions or comments on that? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Good luck. Thank you. Thank you. We're looking forward to this. Then this will go to
Village Board next Monday.
next Monday. All right, thank you.
Yeah, same with the, same with the rezone application next Monday. There's a public hearing to start the village board meeting at 6 PM and then, choose if you, well, regardless of whether you choose to recommend approval or denial of this, this will go to a public hearing next Monday. But Yeah, this is the ordinance related to it. As you can see, we had largely the same points as the subdivision plat. So I'll give you the super abridged version. As you can see, it's mostly zoned RM2. That's moderate density 2. The northeast corner at B3, and then MX2 in that center aisle for those mixed-use buildings. We'd specifically like to highlight those MX2 buildings because those will be some of the first we have in the village. So it'll be a nice road test of some of those mixed-use guidelines that we wrote into the new zoning code, and certainly think we're excited for that, and some neighborhood-level commercial uses in there. Everything else, really no conditions other than those ones that we mentioned in the subdivision plat application already, regards to the lot sizes and their options to mitigate those, whether it's duplex or redividing a couple of those lots for the final plat application. So, with that, the only other condition we wanted to note is that the approval of the zoning would be conditional based on a final plat approval. So we try to tie. You all and the village board could pass the ordinance saying like the zoning is approved, but with the direction that the staff will only amend the zoning map once the final plat is given approval as well. So we're pairing those together. That gets them their entitlements and ability to move forward and get loans and things like that, finalize a plat, while still giving us, if for whatever reason this all falls apart and on the end we're not pre-zoning a bunch of lots against the zoning code. So that's what we got for the zoning. Any questions on that?
One question, maybe I'm missing something, but when I look at Exhibit A, which is, talks about, in the southeast corner, you have that triangular piece. I don't see verbiage that says that southeast corner triangular piece is going to be zoned anything in particular. You've got the big triangular piece that says proposed zoning RM2, but in the southeast corner, I don't see it on this piece of paper saying what the southeast corner is going to be.
South.
Am I missing something?
East corner.
Would be residential, if it follows through. Are you talking about up in the top right corner?
No, in the southeast corner to the east of.
East of 31?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've gotten sidetracked. Never mind. I've gotten confused. Forget it. I withdraw my question.
Okay, gotcha. All right, if there's no other questions, a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend approval of ordinance 18-2022, a zoning map amendment for land adjacent to County Highway KR, County Line Road, CTH KR, and Greenway Road, State Highway 31, zoning map amendment application ZMA-04-22 as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, and who is the second? I heard different sides.
Either one. Either one's fine.
I heard Frank first, so we'll go with Frank as the
That's fine.
second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? Any public comments? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, gentlemen, good luck, and ladies, see you on Monday evening. All right, next we'll go to Memorial Park donations. George, welcome, George.
Hey, good to see everybody again. It's been a little while. So we had 4 applicants. So I'm going to go through them all in order, and then towards the end, Davis, if you want to make one motion for all of them, or if we want to go individually, you just let me know. So the first one that you have is for Walter. This was a previously approved location on what we consider phase 1 of the Pike River. I think we included a map for you, so it was where it says future bench 2. So again, this was a previously approved pad. So this is the last remaining spot for benches on that section of the Pike River pathway. The second applicant was for a picnic table to be out on that portion of the Pike River. There's a photo included that showed that location, which is closer to Mariner Drive. east of Oaks Road in that parking lot there. We actually don't have any picnic tables throughout this section of the Pike River, so I think this would be a really great addition. In Phase 4 behind Case High School, there's several picnic tables that surround the pond that's in that area. So to have an addition of a picnic table for this part of the path, I would recommend having
Sure.
that there.
The question I have there is that going to be in the right-of-way?
Yeah, so I did notice that.
Okay.
If you look at the photo that they submitted, it's actually on the other side of the bridge. So where I circled it on that map, it's actually further west, which that triangle property there is Village of Mount Pleasant property. That's not the right-of-way. The little sliver where that red circle is the right-of-way.
Yeah, so I'm not sure then if that's not the spot, then we're,
So if you see, it says Pike River, that's across the pathway. If you look at the photo of the satellite image.
yeah, it's hard to, I can't read the Pike, oh, I see there, okay, there's the Pike.
Yeah, so where the words Pike River are, that triangle is actual property, not a right of way.
Okay.
That's village-owned property. So, and that is actually where the photo took place. It was west of the bridge there, was the proposed location.
Okay, as long as because I saw where it's there and I know that there's a road right away
Right,
there.
yep,
Could eventually go through, so.
correct, yes. So, so again, so that's a picnic table that would be on a concrete slab in that area. Third applicant was for a tree that would go next to one of our existing memorial benches that are already out there. The tree that was requested on the actual application is not the one that would be planted. We worked with Alice Thompson from Thompson Associates. She's our wetland scientist for the Pike River. So we coordinated the type of maple that we would fall in line with what is recommended for that area, and that's the type of maple that would be planted there.
Okay,
And you've thoroughly checked this applicant out to make sure that
Yeah.
it's something.
Yes. She's
It
been
seems like
vetted, yes.
A recognizable name.
and I assume that we're gonna take appropriate wrapping or some kind of a protector, because as you know, that the beaver are very active, especially right in that area right
Correct.
now. And I'd hate to see that tree get zipped before it even gets planted.
Yes, yeah.
Just be aware of that, because they're obviously, you know, and I love Alice, and, you know,
Yep.
I've done a lot of work with her, but she likes to let the beavers be and try to, you know, work around them, but it's becoming a mess out there right now.
Yeah, and they've installed those beaver deceivers, as they call them, out there to try to help with the water flow from when the dams do get built. If anybody's curious, I could send you some photos of them putting the installation in. But yeah, so they are actively trying to help with that issue. But and then the last applicant was this would be on the section between south of Brown Road. And kind of by where the new lift station is. So the number one location is obviously their preferred. That's around 800 feet north of an existing bench that is out there, which kind of falls in line with that distance that we have on that phase one. So again, I would recommend their first location, but they also did say that they would be fine with a bench closer to KR, which is where I put the number 2 on that map. So we can go back and take these individually for specific questions.
I think if these all meet your approval,
Yes, I would recommend all the locations.
then I think we could take it as a whole, unless there's objections. If there's not objections, then a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we approve all four two benches and tree and picnic table to be installed as recommended by the Park Department.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? No public comment? Then I will call a question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Great.
All right, thank you. Still me, so, I'm just going to provide an update on the Campus Park Phase 2 construction. Yes, construction has finally begun. You know, April was a pretty treacherous weather month for us, so they really get all the construction fencing up. They were able to get the pickleball access available for all the users out there, laid mulch down. We moved the portable restrooms and garbage cans to the top of the parking lot, so those are still accessible to the public. We've added significantly more signage to the patrons who are coming to the park to notify them of how to get access to the pickleball courts. We've got a incredibly large banner that just went up, I think, today to indicate to playground users that Smolinski Park's playground is just 5 minutes away, and we included the address for them because we have had some people knocking on the door of the construction trailer and asking, you know, how they can get in. And those have been some of the questions with, you know, why couldn't we keep the playground open? But obviously with the amount of work that's happening in that central area, there was no feasible way for us to keep the playground open. So so they've been busy moving dirt. They're going to be getting some of the concrete work, so they've been working with the inspections department, the state on some other permits. So we're moving along. I'd say we are still currently on schedule. They've been able to, if they can't do one thing, they've talked to other contractors and have them come out a little bit earlier for various things. So we meet on a weekly basis to have 2-week look-aheads, and we're confident that we're still targeting that October date for completion at this time. So if there's any specific questions related to it, I'll have a little bit more thorough updates for a month from now as more stuff has happened. We do have a website or a link, web page on our website that we've added for the kind of updates to kind of clarify what's happening in this particular phase, what's not. We developed some FAQs that we're going to provide for educate the public for any questions that they might have. And we'll begin posting photos as they come through of some of the progress that's being made out there, and they'll all be on that web page. So,
Perfect.
Hey, George, when is the construction supposed to end?
October.
And that will include everything in the phase 2, like the baseball and the soccer field?
Correct, yeah.
Everything, basketball, everything?
Correct.
Awesome.
Yep. So all the pathway work, everything. Yeah.
Good. All right. Nice. All right.
Any other questions?
Any other questions of George?
Just real quick.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The new playing fields are going to be seeded, correct? Grass seeded?
They should be, yeah.
And you're confident, as much as you can be, given the weather, that come September, the grass, things will be established well enough for kids to be running and playing on it?
So we won't, because of the nature of when it's completing, we wouldn't be utilizing that until the spring.
Okay.
Yeah, and the same thing for like that great lawn area. You know, we had potentially said we would do like an ice rink or a portable ice rink. We were looking into something like that. That's not anything that would happen this particular winter because we need things to settle for that. So yeah, while the park will be completed, there are going to be amenities that will be readily available for them to use, like basketball courts, playground will be open again. But yeah, there are going to be some amenities that we will have to wait to program out until the following year.
All right. Can you just give me a status of what your new offices, where you are on that?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So we are kind of finalizing some of the access points, just getting things up to, building inspection has been over to make sure that it's readily available for public use. So we've got a few more updates that we need to do. Our office has been completed. The flooring in the gathering space has been done. We've got our tables and chairs. We've met with several different groups already potential users, card groups, individual who wants to do some painting classes, some nature classes. So you know, when we're there, people will just stop by, knock on the door, and kind of just ask what's going on. So, yeah, we're targeting that first week of June is when we think we'll have everything ready to go. And we'll kind of consider it more of a soft opening. We may just handle like the Monday through Fridays before we get everything figured out from like a weekend and evening use. But yeah, it's coming along real nice. So
That's going to be including coffee and donuts and everything over there
yeah,
for the
yeah,
walkers.
exactly. I'll home. There's an oven in there. I'll make muffins for everyone. Yeah,
That's on record, you know.
yeah, exactly.
Now it's recorded, George.
Sure. Yeah. Currently, we have the breaker off right now for the oven. So yeah. But yeah, so it's coming along real nice. It's nice to have that space for all of our rec stuff, so we're able to move from Station 3 and have a nice centralized location for our stuff. So,
George, have you had very many of the immediate neighbors, just out of curiosity, come in or ask or anything at all? I mean,
a few they said, "Oh, I just live down the street," and they just ask, you know, what's going on, or I heard the village purchased, and we kind of fill them in. You know, we needed some additional office space, and this would provide, you know, open meeting spaces for groups, you know, like 50 or less. So, yeah, everyone seems to be happy.
Are you still entertaining doing bike rentals out of there at some point, possibly?
Yeah, so I've reached out to a couple of other park and rec professionals who have instituted like systems similar to like bubbler bikes. And so I approached the county and the city for discussions, because it would be something that we'd probably want to have some sort of joint thing, because a single bike rental station there, they may not entertain in one location. So obviously there's several other throughout the village that would make sense as well in addition to that location. So yeah, I've started all of the initial research for that and reaching out to all the major players who might be willing to be a part of something like that.
Good.
All right. Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Oh, gosh, look at the time.
So I should skip?
I'll be very brief.
are you done yet?
I'm done. So just some updates on the stuff that I have to do, which is stamping permits. They've got a few municipal complaints, just blighted property ones, some repeat offenders, as we all know. One thing I had not basically brought the Plan Commission update on, we mentioned it last time, is just basically our administrative site plan approvals. So those are any kind of approvals that don't need Plan Commission approval. So anything less than 5,000 square feet, or in the case of the cell towers, basically we are prevented by state law from really doing anything about. So we just basically stamp those and send them on their way. So we have the two cell towers, a boiler building for the Foxconn Fab, as well as the South Shore Fire Department Station 8 edition. I'm sure we have somebody that might be able to speak to that. The Oaks Road Walmart did some remodeling and reconfiguring of their entrance and whatnot. And then finally, the Oaks Road Super 8. Another thing that I did not put on here but falls under this category is that staff gave a 30-day extension to the Hintz truck facility that was approved last year. Their expiration date would have been today for 1 year completion of legal occupancy. However, April was a pretty treacherous month as far as weather concerns, and we have the ability to extend that. We basically said that if they do not hit the date by next month, which was June the 17th, then they would need to go to the Plan Commission for any further approvals or extensions. So that's the site that's directly in front of the salvage yard, the auto salvage, that they've been working on. But I mean, you can't really spread gravel or anything like that when it's pouring rain all the time.
Right. The Northwestern Avenue cell tower, where is that?
Oh, gosh.
5,700.
Isn't that the one at the church?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the like Omega Church.
Omega
in the
Church?
back, yeah.
It's there already there, so they
It's
must be,
both of them were co-locations, so
Okay,
a lot of
okay.
with 5G rollouts, we've gotten kind of the spring rush of the companies coming in to change up some of their equipment, and then they typically change up some of their generators and some of the icing equipment for the winter and things like that. So, you know, there, like Robin said, there's a cap in state law in terms of how much we can charge them for those minor adjustments, and B, how quickly we have to process them, which is why they get defaulted to this administrative approval. But yeah, they didn't change in terms of the structure itself. It's just, you know, if you look at the towers, a lot of the antennas now kind of look like bars that sit around them as opposed to like more dishes like they used to look like. So when you see those kind of vertical bars, you know, those are probably a little bit newer. And they probably went through us.
I was wondering, because that neighborhood, those folks were pretty vocal about that tower.
Oh yeah, and you know,
Didn't want another one going in.
I
right
can see it from my living room.
yeah, we were limited
But
when we approved that, and the laws have actually gotten more strict since then. So our options to deny these are basically zero.
Let me tell you, I should not get into it, but I have some feelings about these things being located on tax exempt property, but that's just me.
no, the one on Newman Road though, that's not existing. That's got to be something they're putting in by the church, or I just pulled that up.
I think it's behind the church.
Is it up already?
Yeah, I do not, and I don't know.
I thought I saw them do make ready, and I didn't know what it was, but that's.
The Newman Road one is co-located on some water utility stuff. So
Probably
they have
on
to
that,
submit
probably
the-
on that water tank.
Yeah, so
Got
they
it.
submit the electrical stuff through us, which is how we see it, but ultimately it's
Oh, okay.
leased through the water utility.
Okay.
I get really out of my element with like, because whenever they send the cell phone tower things, the packets are like this thick of like technical specs that don't really apply at all to me. And I'm like, okay, that sounds looks good.
Okay.
So, okay. I'm done. So, this is a little bit more my speed. These are sign permits. Tivoli Green, Scooters Coffee, Lifestance Health, a Reface, Neuro Advantage Rehabilitation. We've gotten a lot of sign permits as well as zoning compliance permits. St. John's Properties, sort of business park out there on 20 is filling up. They're getting a lot of people moving in, and they're applying for stuff, and then they apply for the Badger Bounce Back grant. So that's been a lot of our work as far as this goes. But it's been pretty consistent that they're getting clients moving in there. So pretty good. And then finally, man, you can't see that. I look a lot better on my computer screen. Next week, us as well as your esteemed chair will be attending the APA Wisconsin conference in Green Bay. We will be hosting a panel on something you guys are very familiar with, the zoning code update from 2020. Obviously, with the new federal direction on zoning, as well as just lots of basically focus on new zoning and things like that, we applied and we were accepted to speak on that topic because we were one of the first ones to do it, kind of one of the trailblazers, as it were. So we're going to basically talk about Mount Pleasant, and now that we have all this stuff, we are now getting developments that are varied and kind of neat as the ones you have approved today. So yeah, well, that'll be really fun. I don't know if it'll be recorded or anything like that. I'm trying to get a beat on that, but it should be good to kind of share what we've been doing here and really get the word out to other planners around the state, as well as development interests as well. When I did a presentation for Planning in a Pipe, the UWM's Master Planning Alumni Group hosts a yearly thing every year, and our esteemed Sam Schultz is the president of that, and invited me to be on that panel talking about housing and zoning. And I talked, and people were very surprised to see that we were as far ahead as we are, and they were like, "Oh wow, I need to look at Mount Pleasant apparently." So yeah, we're making waves. So that's very cool. So now on to Sam.
Just a brief update on the community development's communication side. So last month, we updated you all that we brought in Lisa in the back in terms of our community engagement manager. We'd also like to introduce Megan, who's our communications coordinator. So we are 2 strong in comms right now. They're part of community development. Just wanted to reemphasize, well, A, there they are. Please go say hi after the meeting and introduce yourselves if you haven't already. But B, if you are going through as commissioners throughout the village and either have questions or notice something that you think might be valuable for other residents, you guys are a little bit more keyed into the village, whether it's trustees or commissioners than your average resident. Please bring that stuff to us, whether it's mundane or very interesting. We're looking to fill communication schedules and build out newsletter capabilities and things like that. So we're just really trying to, better educate the public in terms of the day-to-day workings of the village. I think if you've been on our Facebook or Twitter, LinkedIn, things like that, you'll see it's been a little bit more populated with a broader range of topics lately. That is their work over the last month, and it's looking great. So shout out to them, and please, if you guys have any ideas or thoughts or things that you'd like to see communicated, let me know or let them know, and we'll make sure it's out there.
Sam, could you just
Tom?
briefly explain what their job duties are and demarcation between the two?
Sure, yeah. So Lisa, in terms of community engagement manager, is really handling direction of all of our comms work, as well as how it integrates into our strategic planning efforts, and also has some more constituent services and kind of higher level planning. I think a good analogy is George. We talked a little bit about that last month as well in respect to the village board when they approved the position. That this is a new area for the village, and Trustee Bhatia has a lot of time discussing this at village board meetings in terms of, putting a lot of faith in us to build out a new division of community development. So Lisa's really handling that from a higher level, and then the communication coordinator, Megan, is really doing a lot of the day-to-day work, as well as helping on, some of the design focus as well. So graphics, branding, things like that, photos at events as our summer event series and our tourism coordinator gets underway. So I think about it similar to George and Brittany or Robin and I. It's kind of some person's thinking a little bit about some higher level stuff, and another person's thinking about some of the more day-to-day stuff.
So they would fall under your jurisdiction?
Correct,
And
yes. The slow tentacles of the Community Development Department are reaching across the administration wing. But yes, so I can give you guys an updated org chart next month if you're interested in it. But really, community development contains more or less 6 areas. That's our assessment contract, which is our assessor back there and who's decided to join us today. That's also our contract with the city of Racine regarding transit. And then it's communications, it's planning, it's building inspection, and then it's parks and rec. So that is community development. What we like to refer to as the friendliest proactive engagement department with the village. So unless you're getting a blighted notice from Robin, most of our stuff should be us going out into the community and really advocating and talking to residents about what they want to see.
Excellent. Well, welcome to you two again. Looking forward to your fine work.
And send those ideas our way. With that, our next meeting is June 22nd, so we have a little bit longer of a break between this month and next month, because next month's a 5 Wednesday month, I believe, and we'll see you then.
All right, thank you. And again, we'd like to welcome
Behave
Frank.
yourself at the convention.
Do we have another motion?
Move for adjournment.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all.